Buying an expensive looking car is a lot like doing anal. You only do it to impress other people, and it's usually followed by a long period of suffering. But that's not to say you shouldn't do it, because it can be great in a variety of situations. Maybe your parents are asking you why you're still broke, maybe you've got a high school reunion coming up, or perhaps you just got promoted from poo stain scrubber to meat gazer at Taco Bell and you need something to show for the higher status. If any of those sound like you, then this list will work perfectly to make people think you're more successful than you really are. But before I get started, I gotta let you know some things about looking rich that you may not be aware of. First, if you want people to actually believe you're rich, then an expensive looking car is not gonna cut it. Someone who's truly rich would go further than just a car to try and impress other people. Make sure your phone wallpaper is something like a picture of money, or maybe a swimsuit model that you tell people is your wife. You also need to make sure to get some fake designer clothes and watches, because everyone knows that if you don't wear a Gucci belt and a Rolex, then you're probably just a poser. Next, people will hate you once they think you're rich. They may key your car or spit in your convertible if you leave the top down. That's because people assume that to be rich, you must own some massive corporation like Volkswagen that rapes the environment and takes advantage of poor people. So if anyone asks you how you got rich, just say you got good at playing the slot machine or something like that. Hopefully they don't press you further and find out that you work at Taco Bell. And finally, when you appear to be rich, people around you like hobos or your friends will sometimes ask you for money. Since in reality you're actually in massive debt, you should just deflect the question by telling them it's their own fault they're poor. Now let's take a look at some affordable cars that will make people think you're rich. The Lotus Evora is the first car on our list. It's pretty rare, and like breasts, you've probably never seen any in real life. The Evora competes with cars like the Porsche 911, though unlike Porsche, Lotus actually has a styling department, so this car is unique and exotic looking. The Evora is also lighter than the 911, which just seems to get fatter and fatter each year, much like your mother. In order to achieve this, the Evora is smaller than the 911 and the interior feels a bit cheaper and more cramped. In this way, I'd compare the Evora to Brad Pitt. They both look great from the outside, but you wouldn't want to spend too much time inside them. However, this is completely made up for by the richness that this car portrays. I'd say 80% of non-car people will think this is some kind of Ferrari, and if you peel off the Lotus badges with a butter knife and throw some Ferrari badges on, you could get that to 100%. You can get an Evora for as low as $30,000, while a Ferrari 360, which is a car with similar curb appeal, would run you at least $70,000. Now, you're probably thinking $30,000 for this car is going to be a wreck. I've heard Lotus stands for lots of trouble, usually serious, and how are the British going to make a good sports car when they can't even make their teeth straight? Well, back in 2004, Lotus addressed this concern in a frankly brilliant turn of events. What they did was start using Toyota engines in their cars. That means the Evora has a Toyota 3.5-liter V6, and if you get an Evora GT, you get a supercharger on that as well. That means bulletproof reliability, and unlike the Ferrari, you don't need to go to the dealer to get your shit pushed in whenever it breaks. Overall, the Evora is a brilliant car, and it just so happens to also make you look rich. I know that if I had $50,000 to spend on a car, I'd probably buy the last car on this list, but I would definitely think about this one as well. And moving on, we have the creme de la creme of poser cars, the Tesla Model S. Owning a Tesla is a lot like renting a Lamborghini for your high school reunion. You just do it because you want people to think you're successful. In other words, you think that by owning a Tesla, everyone around you will magically think you're rich. And you'd be right. A Tesla is every white woman's dream car, though they have no idea what the different models are. That being said, you have to opt for the Model S. And that's because the Model X just looks like a Model S that can't resist donuts, the Model Y is a Model 3 that can't resist donuts, and the Model 3 is just a Model S for poor people. The Model S starts at $95,000 brand new, but you can find the older models from about $30,000. And that works out to roughly $300 each month for the next 10 years. Now this may sound like a long time, but Tesla has no imagination, so they're never going to design a newer looking Model S. In other words, the 2013 Model S will look exactly the same as the 2033 Model S, so as far as anyone knows, you may have the newest six-figure car. However, there are some requirements that you need to fill so people will believe you're actually a Tesla owner. And first off, there's only one important person to the Tesla owner, and that person is themselves. So make sure you get a Twitter account which is the go-to social media for egocentric psychopaths. Then make sure to post about how you're saving the environment, and also make sure to ridicule regular people for needing to buy gas occasionally. On top of this, you should struggle to grasp the idea that the electricity you put in your car likely comes from the burning of fossil fuels. You should just pretend that your electricity comes from a vegan source like solar panels. Also, you get bonus points if you have a vanity plate that mentions the fact that your car has an electric motor instead of internal combustion. And finally, you'll need to buy some Tesla merch. You can get this tasteful Tesla umbrella to use when your car breaks and you have to walk to work. They also have a slew of clothing products, so you should be able to wear one every day of the week, lest anyone forgets you own a Tesla. Now we move on to another sedan, the Maserati Ghibli. This car probably has an even higher make people think you're rich factor than the Tesla just because of that brand. Though amazingly, this thing is also cheaper than a Model S. A brand new one is just $70,000, but that's fine because it's a Maserati. Even car people know very little about the brand, and 99.5% of people who see this car will assume it costs over $100,000. And this is brilliant news for you, because you can pick up a used Ghibli for just $20,000. And even brillianter than that is that Maserati also doesn't hire designers. The Ghibli you can get for $20,000 looks exactly like the new ones rolling off the line today. Of course, there is a reason that the car loses 75% of its value in 5 years, and it's that Maseratis tend to be quite unreliable. According to this source, Maserati is ranked at the bottom 40th out of 40 car brands in terms of reliability. And in that way, I'd say a Maserati is a lot like a fleshlight. You know you want one, but you fear what'll happen to it once you start using it. So if you intend on owning one of these, you'll need to get to know your local dealer. Try going out to dinner with the owner. Maybe go to their kid's soccer game, or look into their past and find some dirt you can use to blackmail them once it becomes necessary. Now, you should be made aware that though these cars seem nice, they're really not. Most of the gear inside, like the switches, buttons, and the infotainment, was pulled straight out of a Chevy Spark, the cheapest car you can buy. But this is fine. I think it gives the car character. Why would you want your high-end luxury car to have high-end parts in it anyways? After all, it's not as though you're going to convince a girl to get in your car, so there's no need to worry. The only important thing is that Maserati badge on the front grille, because people notice this car, just like they notice when they shirt in their own pants. And though Maserati can't build a car that works, apparently this one handles well, and the V6 makes a rather nice noise. Now, the next car on this list is the Land Rover Range Rover Evoque, and yes, that is the actual name. So it's called the Range Rover Evoque, and it's nailed together by some cross-eyed Brit at Land Rover. But why didn't they just call it the Evoque? I mean, I get the idea that it's a rover of land and of range, but surely those things aren't so different that you need to include both. Anyways, Land Rover is incapable of naming their cars, but they are actually quite capable of styling them. And as a result, the Evoque is one of the best looking SUVs you can buy. In fact, it's one of the only good looking SUVs. And on top of this, it's also usable off-road. Land Rovers have some of the best off-roading technology, which will put most other SUVs to shame. Though this of course doesn't matter, because the Evoque is never going to be used for anything more than running over curbs in a parking lot as a result of the incompetent driver. Now, on top of being the only good off-roader on this list, the Evoque is also the only one with a luxury interior. It came with leather seats as standard, and since it's an SUV, it offers many other benefits as well. First, it rides well due to more suspension travel, just like your mom. Next, the height enables you to physically put yourself above other road users. Of course, you already feel as though you're above everyone else intellectually, but it helps to be able to put yourself above them physically so they get the idea as well. And finally, due to its size and height, you can drive drunk or while texting or whatever, because when you sideswipe a family of 4, you'll be perfectly okay. Now, I should just mention that this is not the most reliable vehicle on the list. In fact, it came 31st out of 32 brands for lowest reliability from this source, and maybe that's why you can pick up a modern looking Evoque for just 15 grand. So overall, I'd say the Evoque is a lot like a woman. It looks good in any color, it feels good to be inside of, but it may trap you financially. And now we move on to the final 4-door entry on this list, the Fisker Karma. This is without a doubt the best looking sedan on this list. And it was also the most expensive. It started at over $100,000 for the base model back in 2012. This was supposed to be like a Prius for rich people. It had a 4-banger from GM up front, which was connected to a generator, and that was used to charge the battery, which sent power to a pair of electric motors in the back. However, it didn't work like a Prius did. The design was rushed, so the Karma was poorly engineered, which meant it was less reliable than a 90-year-old's dick. They were constantly recalled, and the early model had a tendency to burst into flames. For some reason, they decided to put the exhausts right below the window so you'd get gassed out if the engine was on. And furthermore, the battery ran along the center of the interior, meaning the inside was so cramped that this car, as big as a Rolls-Royce on the outside, was still classified as a subcompact. But this is all good news for you, because now you can pick one up for just 30 grand. And if your main goal is to look rich, then this is a great car to use for that cause. First off, the roof is literally a fucking solar panel, and that's just extremely badass, and it's bound to draw a ton of attention, though probably from dad types. You'll likely get people coming up to you asking what it is, though rather than explain it's from some company called Fisker that got anally probed into bankruptcy over 10 years ago, I'd just slap an Aston Martin badge on it, and that way you don't have to explain the same thing like 100 times. And frankly, they won't doubt the Aston Martin badge because this thing is as beautiful as one. It's sleek and sexy like my dick. Okay, now we move on to the final car, which also happens to be my favorite, and that is the gorgeous, beautiful, thick in all the right places Alfa Romeo 4C. Now, first off, this thing just looks like a fucking supercar. It has that outstanding Italian styling, so this thing will be exactly like a dog taking a shit. You just won't be able to pry your eyes away from it. Remember how I was saying that you could fool people into thinking the Lotus from earlier was a Ferrari? Well, this thing, you probably don't even need a Ferrari badge. Obviously, non-car people know fuck all about Alphas, so people will just assume it's a Ferrari by default. Though, in addition to looking like a supercar, this bad boy is built like one too. That's because it has a carbon fiber chassis like an F1 car, which makes this thing extremely light and means it handles and accelerates like a wasp, despite only having 240 horsepower from a 1.8 liter turbo inline 4-pooper, which is sent to the rear wheels through a dual clutch tranny. Translated for non-car people, that just means you have those little paddles behind the steering wheel and it'll feel like you're driving a Lamborghini. And this engine is like the 4-banger from the EcoBoost Mustang, where like it doesn't have the same chintzy, ricey 4-banger sound. It has a throaty and a sporty sound, which again, to non-car people and even some car people, it'll sound like a proper supercar engine. And all this means that it goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, which is pretty goddamn fast for how cheap this thing is. You can get a 4C for as low as $38,000, which is actually a performance bargain. And for the main purpose of this video, it's extremely good value for money, considering that to non-car people, this car probably looks like it costs over $200,000. That means you'll likely get kids running up to you saying, "Is that a Ferrari?" And dad walking up to you saying, "Hey, I like your Ferrari, pal. You know, I actually used to have a Mazda Miata, and that's kind of the same thing because, you know, it's a sports car as well." But, you know, you sign up for this attention the moment you buy a flashy car like this. Sadly, you can't get a 4C in a manual like the Evora, but I think that I would still get one because of that rotty 4-banger turbo and the gorgeous styling. Plus, I don't think they're really going to get much cheaper than they already are. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by liking it, and then go check out part 2 if I made it yet, or take a look at my playlist that has all my favorite used car picks.